That's the ongoing, that sign material, right? Sign labor cost is underneath, is 912. That's based on the current going rates. Remember how we have to do labor. It's prevailing wage.
Yep.
So this is actual costs in Massachusetts that were used on a typical sign. That
I'm sorry, just to go back, because I'm not sure my question was answered. So then, are these numbers extrapolated from 1980?
No, they're updated.
No.
No.
But what did, so then how did you arrive at
I-
sign labor costs like 10 years, for example?
Actual projects in Massachusetts.
Okay, so, but where's that citation? Where is it?
I will get you that, Dave.
Okay.
And if you think you can get it done for cheaper, let me know.
I'm just asking where,
Yeah.
what the basis is and what the citation is for the data that's being presented here, because
Yes,
it's 6
So
pages.
sign
worth of
label
stuff.
is 912,000,
correct.
and how much were the actual signs?
The actual signs are, the material, 493,000.
93.
Yep.
And that's for how many signs?
That was based on the, again, I have.
Was it 22,000 signs?
I got a
No,
sheet
I
just
think
on
you
that.
gave me yours.
Did I?
I have it.
Oh, you have it.
He doesn't.
I just didn't
Do you
copy
wanna
it
look
on
at
these.
this?
Yeah, that would help.
I have a couple extra sheets.
Great. Yeah, I did.
One council, Dr. Angelo.
Thank
You
you.
have
So
it.
the
Sorry.
signs are at $30, the poster at $46, discounted at 33%. So a sign and post is $50.16. The label is $140.45. That is based on the miles of street we have is 123. You can check with Jack Russell if you'd like to know that.
103 miles?
123 miles times the feet in miles, 5,280. That feet in city streets is 649,440. Both sides of the street, because you can't do just one side, you gotta do both sides.
Well, I think it's also
Just sign.
to reference too, as we said real quick, Council.
You wanted to know how we got to this?
No, but I also think, we need to do these signs regardless, because one of the problems we have in the city is
Street sweeping and things of that
we're-
nature. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because if somebody gets a ticket now, they can fight it because they were never notified.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Believe me, I'm paying my kids almost
A lot.
every other week.
A lot of these streets are one way, there's only parking on one side.
Yeah.
You know?
Private way.
well, yeah, I mean, we could probably.
Like a lot of the
Both sides
residents-
of the street, let me finish,
Oh.
times 2. Every 200 feet, which is a big distance.
Yeah, point of information.
Yeah, just as a point of information, I believe you only need one sign per street. Whether or not that's prudent, I couldn't tell you. A very long street, you'd want to have more than one. As far as both
I'm
sides, just as for
look.
information, I
Let me
don't know if you
finish.
need both
Let me
sides or
finish.
a sign can say.
Signs needed 6,494. If you go back to the study
In 81.
in 81, you know how many signs they said we needed for the whole city?
Was it 20? Was it
7,000. So I did this separate of them. This is how I computed it.
Yeah, plus or minus 500 or 600 signs, at that point, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
Look,
What did you arrive at?
if you're on my street, which I think is a fairly typical street, it would be one sign here, one side down the end, one side here, and one side here. 4, which would be, if you didn't have 4, you're doing a disservice to everybody. There's lots of streets that are gonna have 1.
Council, Dr. Angelo.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm
There's
not sure
lots
my
of streets like
question's
Salem Street.
been answered.
So let me finish talking to this before you ask a
I
question.
agree.
Go ahead, go. What's your question?
So, again, I'm just looking for, maybe then we should look at having some type of audit or, you know, we need to have this like verified by
David,
third-party type of engineers.
we had
you know,
somebody do it,
state,
that's what
where's
I'm just
Mass
stating.
Highway?
The state did this.
Do we, no, I'm just saying,
Back
in
in
1981,
Yeah.
we have more streets today. Their number, if we did the whole city, was 7,000. I tried to verify a number, and in a conservative fashion, it came up to 6,494, which means their number, you know,
Was close.
was close.
Okay, so then just to be clear, So the answer is that we're gonna base this, however many thousands this is gonna be of vehicles. 25,000 if you look at it one way, 45 if you look at it another way, whatever. Off of 19.
No. We took all the information out of it.
Format.
They took the format, number of
Right.
signs, we tried to verify it.
Yeah.
Then they hired somebody to do that for them.
And we're not doing that now because why?
Because it's been done.
Because it's
No,
been
it
done.
hasn't
Why
been
would we-
done.
It was done in 1981.
He
Oh,
didn't
God.
take the
I
figures, he
didn't
only
take their
took the
figures.
But
list.
so what does it matter? Nothing else has changed? There's been no improvements in
In what?
parking, philosophy or practice? There's nothing in civil engineering that's been updated? There's no new
There's more cars.
programs?
There's more cars.
I just,
Look,
all right, no, that's
I
fine.
agree
yield,
with
I yield.
the
It's fine, it's
counselors
fine.
who
It's fine.
say, oh, that's probably too
It's fine.
many signs, right?
No, it's fine.
I agree. But what I'm providing here is a conservative estimate of your cost, because the last thing you want to do is come up with a number and then find you're in deficit in what your plan was. You always want to be saying, oh, what I came up with was in the ballpark, right? We had engineers who did this before, and the city only has more streets, not less, than in 1980,
More cars.
and way more cars. We know that. That's, an irrefutable fact. The number of cars is only more than what we have in our database. Only more.
Yeah, I have.
So when you use
You're
the,
proving my point, though. Why would we use 1981
we're not using, what are you not getting?
format to do it?
All right, David.
I just don't understand
Counsel.
what, so do you really think that the people at Mass Highway or the people at Van Ness, that they would go, oh, let me take something from 1981?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think that people in business, David,
No.
the way
So
we have
civil engineering
streets.
hasn't evolved.
All right,
since
Council
1981.
Duckett, I'm gonna take control of this meeting
Yeah,
now. Council Kennan, let's move forward. Let's move forward.
It's fine.
All right, so anyways, that's how the amount of signs was arrived at. At 200 feet, it came out to $6,494. The cost of the signs was just taking the signs and the posts, plus a discount, online, went to a number of sign things online and put in, and they all come out within the same, this isn't the bottom price you could get, but it isn't anywhere near the top price you could get. So the sign and the post would cost $50. But to Councilor Condon's point, there may be savings in there where the posts we already have,
And stick to the side.
and we can stick to the sign.
Correct.
But again, when you're doing these type of things,
Yeah, we're going for worst case scenario.
worst case scenario, right?
Yep.
Worst case, you don't want to come up short.
Yep.
So this is a worst case scenario, you take the sign and the post, $50, and you come out to cost for the signs, $493, $574, if you bought 6,494 signs. Which I don't believe we will, but it's gonna be some factor of
Yep.
that. And then the cost of labor is just the estimated, and the ability to put a sign in, if you go to these websites, they're all in the same ballpark in terms of the labor it costs. That's where your real cost is somewhere around $125 to $150. And I put in 140 from somebody that could do this many signs in Massachusetts. Again, you may be able to bargain that down. But labor's expensive today. So the labor for that is, you could hire your own guy and get your own equipment to do it. That's also a possibility. Cost of labor, $912,125. But again, this is all year one cost. So the total cost is those two added together. And then administration, I go through administration and clerk ads. I
So you have
think
purchased
those.
8 cars, 8 vehicles. Will we take any of the existing vehicles?
I think you would.
So we can do a little savings there.
Yeah,
I don't-
I don't, well, no, I mean, I don't know what the ages are of those.
Yep.
But what I wanted to really do was get what the ongoing cost was. Because those vehicles, if somebody's managing these people right, aren't sitting around.
Yeah, they're driving around.
They're driving around, and their life is not that long.
Mr. Hogan, go ahead. How many people in the parking department now, in the police department? Dedicated to parking? Forget, I don't mean the patrolman, I mean on the street in the clerk.
Yeah, I mean, if you probably have to FTE it, right? Because most of them are 15 hours a week. So on an FTE equivalent, you're probably talking about 6 folks.
Just 6 people.
5 to 6 if I were to take, so it's a lot of folks working 15 hours a week.
Yep.
Probably the equivalent of maybe 5 full-timers.
And I think everybody's gotta realize too, is those part-timers, like, the problem I have now is, they're in the schools in the morning. Right, so they're not ticketing around any of the neighborhoods or the transit area because they're dedicated to schools.
What
So-
schools were they at?
Well, that's what my argument was too, but,
Just wondering, because they're
not
not.
a BB.
Right.
They're not driving around.
As long as they get to the areas. It's okay that they're at the schools and the peak hours for schools. As long as they get to all the areas.
I've had a conversation
Council Con.
with Chief. And he just made a suggestion that he thinks it could work out better if we had these guys in each ward. Somebody have a Ward 2 enforcement guy, Ward 3, Ward 1, and they would work each ward so they would know the areas. And he thought that would work out good. You wouldn't have people roaming around all over the place. And they'd get to know the area, know exactly where the people are and not following enforcement. It's just a thought.
No, I think that comes into play when you build up this department, right? You probably need one for every ward, right? Because you could use them in the school areas in the morning. And then you probably need one dedicated to the square. I mean, or 2 dedicated. I mean, you drive here, I mean, I know my pet peeve, I share this with everybody. You go in front of that Dunkin' Donuts every day, there's 6 cars lined up there. Any other city that had a no parking sign there would be writing tickets. When I called them, they told me that they were dedicated to the schools and I had to choose between the safety of the children and parking enforcement. So I sent them a pretty good email. And now what I see them do literally is, they stand there and tell the car to move on. So instead of writing a ticket, they're just letting them sit there. So guess what happens when the guy is not there? He parks his car and goes get his coffee. You don't change behavior by waving them on.
You have a parking lot in the square, right next to the bank, that there's teachers that park in there. There's about 10 teachers that park in there, and for somebody gave them a sticker to allow them to park there. I don't know where that came from, because that's a municipal lot.
But the one with the meters?
Yeah. And it says Walton Schools.
Are they feeding the meters?
No. And people aren't tagging it. They're teachers that park there. I mean, you know, why do we have, the teachers are provided parking, aren't they, on the other side of the building?
I don't know, I'll be honest with you. But they should be,
There's not enough parking.
they should be parking in municipal lot dedicated to
Huh?
square
There's
for
not enough
merchants.
parking space for teachers.
So they fill
They
out
might just
municipal.
be visiting the school
Huh?
or something.
No. it's
Yeah, let me
teachers.
just stay on topic. The only thing I would say is,
They
no
work
offense to
in
the
the
teachers, no offense to the teachers, I have them park in my neighborhood.
Are
When I go to my job, I don't get parking.
Are we required to
No,
allow them, give them our municipal lots?
no, that's been a pet peeve in Ward 3 because they're not tagged for when they're street sweeping either, and they don't move their cars. So I have a resident who gets tagged, but when they come out, they say, how come that car wasn't tagged? Because they didn't move, because the teachers can't come out and move their car for street sweeping. So that's something we gotta fix.
Now, what's the company's name that does the lots? Oz? Why, they should have the right, or we should give them the right of enforcement within, on the areas that they control. They control parking areas, why don't they have the right to tag in those parking areas? Why would that be out of the
It's probably
box?
not in their contract. It's right on their permit.
They want it, they want the
Well, I'm sure
right
they
to
want
do
it.
it. They want to be able to tag, the revenues would come back to us.
No, I mean,
But people are just, so by the courthouse there, they're parking up there. I know there's an agreement with Pearl Street Restaurant, but people are parking there overnight.
That goes to
Right. But there's,
I think there's a lot of things we have to work. I mean, there's being this, we gotta put, I mean, there's a lot of, what I need to do is, I think we build off the residential parking, we We work on enforcing what we have, I mean, we need to work what we have too, there's absolutely no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Council Kid, you wanna finish going through this document?
Sure.
Please.
So enforcement. Again, I have an enforcement sheet that's does the whole thing, but I don't see it in here. But it's 20 enforcement officers.
Yep.
Oh, yes, that's right. It's like a line.
Yeah, but I'm saying I had it all detailed out. I have a sheet that details this all out. I used the current labor rate. I used the current labor rate that was in the budget for our unionized guys. However many there was, I moved them over, but all I did was say, okay, we have, and that's why it was
The clerks,
12 to 8.
is that this one?
Oh, I see.
Do I have this one too?
No, I get that, that's the clerks. But it's 12 to 8, and then it would be, 12 to 8, and maybe it was 4 o'clock that we ended the parking. I can't remember exactly, it might have been 4 o'clock. But it was two shifts, 16 hours a day, and it would be broken up between some full-time people and some part-time people to cover, the weekends and all. And that's why you would need, from what again, when you have 20 people, you'd have a manager, and you'd have a, what I would call a manager that would also be working on the weekends. Because if you don't have that person who's working nights and weekends, I don't care what you're doing, you're not gonna be, if you don't have a manager out there, it's not happening. So, a person could come up with a plan that's better than this. Again, all I'm doing here is saying, I wanna make sure we're covering all costs. But if anybody's gonna say, you're only gonna have one manager doing this, and not a manager at night, might as well not do it.
Go ahead.
I'm off committee, but I have a question on this subject, and I don't dispute what you're saying about the manager, I think you're accurate about that, but beyond this being intuitive, I think we heard from the chief during a finance meeting that ticket writing is a revenue-generating activity.
Huge.
And it pays for itself.
Absolutely.
When you hire someone that writes tickets, that salary pays for itself. So I don't know that we can say this is a $200,000 cost. I think it's neutral. It's revenue generating.
No, I show the revenue.
He shows the expense and
I show all the expenses.
How did you get the basis of your revenue figure?
That we do have,
Okay.
okay? So I'll go to that because, the cost, it might be lower. It's not gonna be a whole lot lower if you're gonna really cover these hours.
Plus you have,
But I do
you still have
have,
winter parking.
I do have a person, hold on, I just wanna make it clear, that I allocate, why I say 20, is I've allocated a person per ward. Per ward. That way you can then compare, hey, we got this many cars in this ward, they got this many cars. Just by the rules of numbers, the percentages of tickets you write on the number of cars you have and the number of streets you have is gonna be in the ballpark. If one guy writes 20 tickets and, if your average guy writes 16 tickets a night and this guy's writing 3,
I don't know about that. I mean, some areas are more desirous for people to skirt the parking rules, right? You might be less motivated to do that over in Ward 8, but if you're over in Ward 2 or 3 or 4 where you're near a T, you might want to chance it. And
Not
illegally
overnight.
parking may be more ticket generation.
Not overnight, you'll have plenty in what
The overnight, right.
Yep.
oh yeah.
Yeah, the overnight's gonna get you.
Just,
You have one person that writes over $300,000 worth of tickets.
Winter parking enforcement, remember you gotta have
That
that
works.
still.
Yeah.
Parking on the curb,
Yeah,
parking near the corner.
So there might be more equality with overnight ticket writing, which I imagine would be modifying behavior over time with this program. But as
Agreed.
far as afternoon ticket writing, there'd be a disparity. That's just
yeah, and look, I agree with that, but all I've put in the back is here's the number of renters, the number of homeowners, the number of units, the percent of owner occupied, owner-occupied units, how many there are, that ties out with pretty close to our numbers. Cars per owner-occupied unit is, here's an interesting fact for you, Craig. The cars per owner-occupied unit in the city is 2.94.
You have 0.75
Cars per renter unit, okay, is 1.05.
You have 0.75.
Right, right.
Cars a house? That's what we have.
Hmm?
3 cars per house?
That's, yeah, we have 3 cars.
Oh, that's easy.
Well, I'm not saying it's, there's an average.
That's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, no.
Family with a child and drive, that's 3.
people, you have 3
Yeah.
New cars per year, renters, and these figures came off the renter turnover from realestate.com or whatever it is. But renter turnover per year in the greater Boston area is 44.5% every year. So the new cars per year for the renters is just taking the 44.5% times the renter cars we have. So that would be 6,823 cars per year,
10 to 50 bucks.
right? Every year. New cars per owner occupied per year is, because that doesn't turn over as much, as 3,067. And that's, to get that number, I just multiplied I divided the owner occupied cars by an average of 10. Because David, where is he? Got Angelo?
Have a pizza.
Back here.
He gave me the sheets from the Department of Transportation, I think it was, and the average car age in Malta
7
is
points.
10,
Is it 10?
10 point something. That doesn't mean they necessarily own that car for 10 years. So again, I've been conservative here, this number's probably higher, but it's probably not lower by taking the average age of a car of a homeowner. It's 3,000, so that's taking the homeowners divided by 10. Then the total new cars per year registered would be 9,890, times the resident sticker parking of 50. Sticker collections per year on the new at $50 would be $494,500. It may be higher, it probably won't be a ton higher. Estimate, excise tax estimated was $5,544,000. This is right out of the 217 budget. Registered cars, now these are the registers, is 43,144. The average excise tax then collected on registered cars is $128.50. Excise tax cars, now here I just threw in a number because I don't know what it is. This is probably low, but I put in 2,500 more cars. I'd be willing to bet that's a low number.
It's probably 4,000, at least the first.
I don't know,
It's probably gonna go like this.
but I don't want to
Yeah, go too high.
too high, right?
That was guess, it was just a guess.
It's a guess, kind of based on
Cities.
other
Surrounding
surrounding cities. I think some of them did a better job before. And I say this because if you look at ticket collections in other cities, they're significantly better per capita. So we're not making it ugly on people today to park illegally here.
And they're usually non-residents. They're non-residents.
Yeah, so again,
Majority, I mean.
I've used their type of figures. They were probably more diligent in collecting excise tax as well. We've done nothing. So, this would be if you were Everett and really putting it in when they first put it in their part.
My only point, if I can interject, is that's only about 5%
Yep.
of the total population of cars. And I think that there's probably a higher portion.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah,
It's probably 10.
Not registering and paying excise and insurance here in Malta.
I don't disagree at all. I don't want to go high, and then again, come up short. Go ahead.
And then just as a point, this is only probably going to be this figure for the first year, because this will drop off as people start learning, I think.
Yeah, but,
You can't do this,
well,
as people start
But we're
registering.
talking about new dollars.
Exactly,
Yes.
so but that's only going to be.
But that-
for the first.
no, but that's
No, no,
new dollars
those new
every
dollars
year.
will keep coming.
Because they have to pay every year. If we find, it'll level off the,
No,
no,
just considering people are going to learn.
no, if today we have 43,000 cars registered, and we find out there's 2,500 additional, let's say just, there's 46,000. It's gonna be 46,000 forever, except it's actually gonna grow because we're building new buildings. So the revenue is gonna stay, it's going to level. That will not go
The
away.
growth will
The
go
growth
away
will
after
go-
year
yeah,
one.
Right.
But a new floor will be established.
Exactly, John.
You have a new baseline.
So the increase in revenue on the excise tax and the sticker collection would be 815, 755. Now, if there were tickets per ward per hour, and I would challenge anybody to go into a ward, and if you said, hey, I can do 2 additional tickets from today, and we know from the past what tickets used to be written, so I haven't done anything crazy. But 2 additional tickets per hour for 16 hours a day. That's 32 tickets, which,
You could do that between 8 and 9.
well, that also tied into the estimate
Yeah.
that they
They
gave
did that result.
in that other result. They actually gave 36. And I said, well, I'm just gonna make it 2 tickets per hour. And I guarantee you, and any one of us could go out there right now. And I'm not talking about being aggressive. I'm talking about people who literally park on crosswalks in front of fire hydrants, right near my house.
Right near the
constantly.
corner, right near the corner.
On the corner, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Up on the sidewalk.
Right up
Oh,
to the
sidewalks, you wanna get
driveway.
into sidewalks, I get that everywhere.
Yeah, and they crack the sidewalks.
Yeah,
They break the
yeah,
sidewalk.
they break this, yeah, and then the colony.
And then they complain,
yeah,
sidewalks are
the
broken.
sidewalks cracked, and I wanna fix, and you know. So that, I mean, it's not an overly aggressive plan where you're gonna have people, they'll complain, but over time, you know, you hope that has impact. But again, and with the people who park in the city and just take the chance, just,
You can't ask.
so that, you know, just doing the numbers will raise an additional 1.8 million a year. The total, and that is the number that may go down and level off at some time with better behavior. But even if you look at the best cities, it doesn't go away because people always take their chances.
No, and then as you increase the downtown area, right, merchant-wise, and you put the meters in, that revenue should always be, if you maintain that well, I mean, look at Boston, they have people walking around downtown.
Oh, Somerville.
In Somerville, I mean, they have $50 a ticket, some of them. But I'm saying, if you manage it well, that's good for the merchants, it's good for everybody, because, you know, that's one of the complaints we get down the square is, you know, the other shop owners parking down there, they're not moving the car. So, I mean, to me, it's the quality of life issues, and it's trying to get, I mean, I think the weekend of the city, for me anyways, when I see, from around my house on the weekend to what it is in a Monday through Friday, it's not the residents per se. It is literally all the commuters coming to the city and parking their cars in various spots in Ward 3 that don't have permit parking now and walking to the train. And if they get a ticket once a month, it's $30. That's a day's parking in Boston. It's a day's parking.
Yeah.
So I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I want to start by saying that I'm not doing this to criticize the work you've done, because you've clearly done a lot of work on this, and I think it's helpful. But the sign material lifespan of 10 years, and the reason why I question this, I know we have street signs that far outlast 10 years. I see signs that go much, much longer, so why 10 years? I would think these signs would last 20 or 30 years. Where did you get 10? You must have got that somewhere.
Just on their websites, and they're probably trying to sell more signs, so you're probably correct.
The sign seller website.
Yeah, at the average.
But that would also include vandalism, sign getting knocked down, right?
Oh, yeah, this
Yeah.
was.
So this is a maintenance line item because,
It is amazing.
Some of that,
I mean, it's only 50,000 here going forward.
I think it's de minimis. A sign getting knocked down, I mean.
Around here?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it happens all the time, ask Bobby. I mean, it might
That is
not-
the person that we should ask, I
It
guess.
might not be 50 grand, but I think it's a good placeholder. You know, if we don't have, and I think part of this exercise to everybody is, what's next? If we were to pass this, then where's the money go? My plan would be, is you put an account, a revolving account, or some type of account that's earmarked for parking improvements, sidewalks, and trees.
Yeah,
Anything, the infrastructure of the city.
you have me at trees.
No, but I'm saying, no, stuff that right now, I mean, you know, all that stuff that we, you know, the sidewalk replacement, not the water one, I'm saying, this is where this money should be going to earmark for a certain use. We can define that use to be broader, we can define that scope to be smaller, but I want this to be used for purpose, because that's what these fees should be for. At least that's my take. If somebody else has a different take on that, I'd be more than happy to entertain that.
No,
but I-
and that's why it needs to go into this enterprise
Correct.
fund, that it's
It's earmarked for that reason.
earmarked for these things.
So you got a sidewalk replacement you need, you use it for that. You need to put trees on a certain street, this is where this money's coming from.
Yeah, one
Your signs
last,
get spray painted,
one last quick point.
Yep.
A big portion of the cost is poles. Not every sign needs a pole. There's existing poles that you can repurpose or add to. Sometimes it's a telephone pole. I've even seen a tree, but I think that's out of practice.
Get the trees.
you can't do telephone poles.
That's appalling.
You can't do telephone poles.
We don't own
We
We don't
do not
own
own those telephone
Yeah, you
poles.
can only do one of the ones we own.
I know they're there, but we legally can't do it on telephone.
So we bought the lights, but not the poles?
You don't know the
We
poles.
do not own the pole.
We didn't want the pole. We own the silver ones, Jeff. Council, you know.
Thank you, Counselor. This is a great
Stop.
step. I just have a couple of questions. So in your staffing kind of breakdown, do you have, you're saying 2 managers?
I have a manager and an assistant manager.
So one, okay. Do you have a treasurer or who's going to manage all this funding, this money? Is that another position we're creating?
We have clerks. So if you go to administrative, who's going to manage all of these people? We would have 3 additional clerks. And if you go to the clerk sheet, and hopefully it's in there, and I didn't skip that one.
It's on the second page.
The cost analysis of.
Full-time clerks, 20 per hour, 39,000. Full-time burden, 50%.
Yeah, okay. It's on this one,
Okay.
transaction cost analysis. Is that what it says?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Input tickets, 20% additional adjustment. Quantity of tickets, right, those are how many tickets we're gonna write, additional tickets. So we write 60,416 additional tickets from the ticket,
Yeah.
right? That's 12,083. The payments at the windows, right, for those, I said, we'll get 10%, and I think it's probably more in Malden. But again, this was more of an industry type thing. Somehow you would try to force people not to come into the window, but people do come into the window, so I said 10%, that'd be 6,042. Phone calls on these things, 10%, 6,042. New stickers at the window, and that comes right off. We said, okay, we're gonna sell 9,890 new stickers a year. That's gonna, and excise tax, they're gonna pay that. That
So
would
you're
be,
folding the responsibilities into the treasurer's department. That's,
no, this is the,
Yeah, it might be its own department.
I believe it is its own department. It may
okay,
ultimately,
so those clerks would
there'd
be a treasurer, be a phone answer, be a.
Yeah,
Is
just,
that what you're
these are
saying?
the,
So
so
if I
we
can-
already have, look.
We already have.
We already have some, and these are the additional transactions. This is additional transactions. So what are there, 2 people? Hey, Ron Hogan? How
Ron?
many people are currently in the police department as clerks? Is it 1 or 2?
The pie.
It's really essentially Kathy here,
Okay.
so,
So she'd be transferred over.
yeah, Jack is also, part of that department, he's not out physically writing tickets. So I guess.
He's like an office manager.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So, and I just want to, so Council DeMaria, before you can continue, but this was what came up before, that I believe everybody was part of, when the mayor asked Council D'Angelo and myself to put a paper before the ordinance committee last year? 2 years ago, to take the parking department outside of the police department.
Right.
And it was to our surprise that nobody told the employees over there. That's when they came in and said, you're gonna fire me, and that was nothing to do with that, it was simply.
Yeah, no one's getting fired.
Nobody's getting fired, the
Yeah.
chief wants them out, I mean, not to be rude, but he wants them out of his domain, he doesn't wanna deal with parking issues. So the mayor and the chief both agreed 2 years ago, and I think they still continue to do that, is they would like to take this entity out and make it its own entity and do it. So I think what we're doing here as far as in terms of practice is nothing that wasn't done 2 years ago, it's just a matter of putting pen to paper.
So my question is there budgeted line items for medical expenses? You have figures for salary, but, you know,
Yeah.
if baby's part-time.
Full-time burden at 50%. So if you go down below, clerk's making $20 per hour, which I took right out of the budget, was 39,000 about. Full-time burden, 50%.
And that means medical.
That means medical, portion of
Okay.
whatever they have.
Yep.
Cost of full-time clerk is then, unfortunately, $58,500, but that's not a lot in this city.
What is scheduled next week?
Our benefits are very expensive.
And so where is the, where's the manager's salary of the
I'll
department?
answer that. Can I finish this page so people understand? So the transactions, the additional transactions would be 34,056. That's doing transactions per hour, would be 6 per hour, 7.5 hour in a day, 45 transactions per day. I have handled this type of work in many office situations. 6 hours is something that's doable. It's not 100%. You might be in an office where you can get 8 to 10 per hour, but then pushing it, I don't put myself in city. 6 would be very good. Days required, 757 days worked per clerk would be 231. That takes into account for vacation, sick time, all of that. Number of clerks, 3.28. That's how I came up with 3 on the outside. And the additional 2 coming over, because I think, given our current structure, they're probably not optimal. So I just left it at 3. So this is the total clerk cost is $195,000, and that's where I transferred that. If you go to the manager, I'll put this in there, so, I will have to get the breakdown. I have it.
Council DeMaria, can I ask, are you just
I
trying
don't
to
have
get a
it,
better
no.
idea? Cost?
Well, yeah, because I guess manager's salary isn't closing, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's, I mean,
No,
Yeah.
it should be, I have a sheet, so.
So, and
But
just-
it's 2 managers. And the total, again, what you can tell is it's 225. Take the burden off, 1.5. It's 150,000 between 2 managers, their salaries. And they are managing effectively 26 people. think if you looked at, let's say, public facilities, and you looked at the public facilities manager and the person who reports to him, next to Joe, you would find that their salaries combined would be over $150,000.
Well, I think that, yeah, but I think it's also important to note that the plan is, there is no money out of the general fund feeding this.
Zero.
Zero. This is
It's all
self-funded.
self-funding. Nothing here.
Self-funded. There's no money coming out of the general fund into this budget. This should be self-sustaining based on new revenues from excise tax, which is the bulk of it, you know, and then ongoing enforcement of not only the residential parking program, but also, I think, all the other things every council.
Well, there's a long-term plan to take the garages,
Yeah.
let's be honest.
No, you're right, there's a plan going forward, you're right,
But that cannot happen in year
No.
one. This is way too big.
yeah. And I mean, it is, but this is also enforcement of parking in the corner, parking on the sidewalk, because we don't have enough people doing that. So, I mean, this to me is, you know, if this was costing anything out of the city budget, I probably wouldn't do it. I mean,
Plus it's having the assistant manager who's working weekends
correct.
as well as nights. So,
Well, I mean, you're taking this building down and putting it at the Haven complex, and want somebody here on the weekends to enforce all that. You know, because the square wants meters, I think we're gonna go down with that plan. Council O'Malley's doing it, I know Council Condon wants to put them in his ward, across from Pizza. I know Council Kinnon has done that, but now, I think like most ordinances we do, right, we pass these fantastic ordinances, we spend countless hours here, and guess what happens? There is no enforcement. There's no enforcement.
There was talk about putting them in all the municipal lots, that's why I said,
Yeah.
I got a municipal lot.
No, I mean, I'm for that. I mean, that's the whole plan, is to, and everything goes into this program, and any revenue that is generated from a standpoint of profitability, if you quote unquote, goes back into the community in terms of sidewalks, beautification, whether it be planting of trees or flowers, road improvements, all the things that I think we've been arguing about for the last, and right now, as we can tell, the next couple of years, the city budget is going to be strapped just to provide basic services. This is a way to bring quality of life to the neighborhoods, something everybody's been asking for, control the parking growth, as well as, hey, make a few bucks. We should be making it anyways.
and in year one, there isn't two, there's only one manager, which I've made this case before. We will never implement this. So if we decide to do this, I believe we need to hire somebody to do this. And because it's not gonna get
No, I
done.
completely
So in year one, in the startup costs,
Right.
I got a manager.
And in point of information too, Council, the police department doesn't want to do this.
Right.
They'll
So-
never do it.
Yeah, but even if I gave it to Chief Morris right now, he's already said, I don't want to do it. So, go ahead, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, so just one of the things that as we move forward, because it's a great plan, and it's really fundraising. It really is sticking.
Yeah, look, I don't
So, but
try to
I
hide
really
that. I
think
mean,
before we do this, we do need, if we're building a new department
Yep.
and collapsing what we have and folding it in, I do think it's important that we get buy-in from the HR. So that's one of the things I would like to see.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot to that.
I mean,
Yeah, and the other thing that
I think we need to get buy-in too from the mayor's office. I mean, the mayor's supported this in the past, right? But I think if the
But you
mayor,
said we have that.
we do. I mean, I haven't gone to him and asked him, you know, because,
Well, he came down 2 years ago,
He
he
did.
wanted it
But
done.
I mean, Maria's here. Maria, would the mayor still support taking parking out of the police department? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot. Would that be?
Wait, you just did.
I did.
What would have changed?
Shake your head if you said no.
So,
He's become greater.
So, and, you know, going back to a public hearing, I think just to circle back to what we first talked about, if we do it before July, I'm all for it. The only thing is I think there's a PowerPoint that maybe I just have not seen. Is that an old PowerPoint that you said you're going to up?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
So maybe we need to, you know, make sure that we have a meeting prior to that.
I would expect we were gonna have a meeting next week.
I'm gonna have a meeting next week because we have other things that we have to talk about. And then what I want to do is, that would leave us 1 week left. So I'm gonna have Karen send an email tomorrow. We'll do it maybe the last week, the 29th, I think it's a Thursday. I don't want to get Monday and Tuesday simply because of the budget going on. We gotta pass it. So I'm thinking the 29th, which is a Thursday. So- Is it a Wednesday? So
Wednesday would work.
Yeah, we
Is
do
it
the
a
Wednesday. I'm gonna have Karen send an email around to all the councils tomorrow.
Council, can you up?
30th.
Oh, yeah.
By
Oh,
that
yeah.
time,
Oh, yeah.
because I just think, you know,
I'll
once
have
we
it
have a
updated
public
for next
hearing,
week. I'll have it here for
we
next
need
week.
to all be able to answer the questions that.
Oh, no, we'll have it for next week. Talk about it next, we'll actually.
It's really only numbers that I have to update, not the concept.
Council Con.
Yeah, but we're forcing people to do what they should have been doing all along, and that's pay their excise tax in the city. We're forcing people to use their driveways
Absolutely.
and put as many cars as they can in their driveways. If not, they're gonna have to
They
pay.
only have to put one. in their driveway.
Well, I'm just
No, I
They don't have to put
Because
in.
people,
Well, right now, because nobody's enforcing it.
I got a car from Virginia that's been on my street for six months. You know, they're obviously, you know, I don't know where they're from. I
They're from
don't know
Virginia.
where they live.
They live in
They're
Malden, but
certainly
they're
not
from
paying
Virginia.
excise taxes in our city.
No, and listen,
So
No, it's
that's
great
the
idea.
no, and I
purpose.
think that's
To find out who's living in our city and parking in our streets.
No, I think
That was in the presentation.
No, I mean, listen, for me, I mean, don't get me wrong. Council Con hit the nail on the head. It is about the people who are not, should be paying their fair share of the excise tax. But for me, it gives us the ability, when we have these houses right now where there's 8, 9 people living in there with cars, we have no say right now.
Right.
We have no say. This will give us some controls, and this will give us the ability to also enforce what is already in the books. Because that's the other thing, I mean, we're not creating new parking orders other than a residential program, which is already in parts of the community. What this is doing is giving me more bodies and a central location to say, hey, I got somebody in Ward 3, go up to the corner of Glenwood and Hawthorne, and that guy parking at the corner, I want a ticket on him every day.
Right.
Just one of the things that really concerns me when we're dealing with money, again,
Oh.
I think that we really need to make sure we have the reins on it. And, you know, as far as metered, he's not here, you know, that, we're not at that step yet. Is that
The
correct?
meters?
Metered, like when we start putting meters in and then there's someone collecting
No
cash.
more cash.
You know,
Let's not
I
this
just,
time, no.
that's, well, we did touch on that.
Eventually that
So we're
is.
not going to that yet.
We're not gonna go to that now. This is
Okay.
residential parking.
Okay, 'cause
We've
I
got,
think Jenna was here, so.
I believe before we do that, we have to have a department in
Right.
place. Because to your point, with a professional person who understands control, who has managed cash before, and all kinds of things. And because you gotta set it up right. You just can't throw everything in it at once. And we have a semblance of parking today, but it's not working.
And you bring up a good point about professional handling of money. Is this, are we gonna be able to implement the fact that you can pay with a credit card for this? Because that's 90% of people who do that.
Have to be.
So how, is that a conversation that we need to start having?
Well, no, I think Council Ryan might have missed it. So as I think, and I think every other council agree, we are not the best stewards of implementing something like this. We decided to do residential parking. Once we get that ready to go, we need to hire somebody to run this department. Who's gonna come in and build
Here's
it up.
what it is, and you build it, and here's your time.
And he's gonna come here to us and just say, every week, like a project manager, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this.
I can understand, just back to Councilor, back to Councilor
Thank you.
Whitaker's earlier question, where does this fall into? And I know that's its own department, but we're building a new city hall, people are gonna need to go to a window. I think it should probably be near the treasurer's office, at least in the same window.
We just bought a building in the square, didn't we?
Yeah, all finance departments gotta be in the same building.
Well, it's the same building, obviously.
We just bought a building in the square. Centrally located.
Understood. No, I'm just saying that this need, because people are handling money, we need to make sure that we're not,
For all we
we're
know,
not having more thefts.
These
For all we
are,
know, for all we know, we may keep a portion of that building when this is all over
It's a perfect spot.
for parking and perhaps the treasurers, where people can actually come and pay bills on
we're
off
gonna have
hours.
a drive-up window.
Hey, that's a great
We
idea.
we do.
So, but these are the kind of questions, and I know you guys want to do this public hearing. This is where I feel we really need to get all these questions out, because this is what the public is going to ask. And I don't want to be standing going, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
No,
Oh,
we,
thought of that, yeah.
the council, this is what it is. We will have, again, if we get, the vote is, we vote on, we have to send a recommendation to the draft department. Once we decide on the final rule, right after this public hearing. But when they say to us, do we have a director in mind? No. But the plan in theory is we build out a separate department that the mayor is supporting, the chief of police is supporting, and wanted to do this 2 years ago, okay? Now we have a plan in place, residential parking, everything will go in that central location. That's phase 1 and 2. Then where's the money gonna go? I'll tell you where the money's gonna go. The money's gonna go to improvements for streets, roads, sidewalks, all that stuff that we use, goes in there, in earmark for that. And then, that's the plan. The next phase to me is, Council O'Malley, the chamber, we talk about meters, whether they be all municipal lots, certain municipal lots, then that money goes into that department. Then the third phase, maybe later on, is if we take those garages over, they go into that
What about
department.
visitor parking, where is that, phase 1?
That's part of residential, correct.
So that's phase 1.
Yep, and we have an idea.
So that's what we'll be talking about initially at this public.
Yes, but I think everybody made a good point, Councilman. We should be there listening, like, we don't want to present anything, maybe the first one say, this is the thought process. Well, here's the structure, this is what's gonna happen. Now, they might say, well, I want 4 visitors passes, I might want 2. Take it all in, we come back and say, listen, we heard from the residents, they want 3 visitors passes maximum. Because you're gonna get somebody who's gonna say, they should only have 2, and somebody's gonna say, well, I want 7. You know, and we just gotta sift through that, and then we come back and make that final rule.
But we have to keep in mind, these visitor passes are only applicable between midnight and 5 p.m. Most people that have visitors won't really have a need for that. It would be someone coming over to visit after work, or dinner.
Correct. They're going to be able to have whoever they want over for dinner and, you know.
So multiple passes could be exploited. That's the downside of this. And
But they expire every year too.
Yeah, that's why we really need feedback from the
Right,
public on this.
but we need to also know what we're all gonna say.
Yeah, and one thing, and then I'll turn things over, Brian, I know you have something to say, and I know we're running out of time. No, this is where I differ respectfully with much of what's been said. A lot of people are compliant today, and we're gonna be passing along a new novel fee that they've never experienced before, and I'm sympathetic to that.
I'm more than sympathetic, Mr. Counselor. I have a suggestion, just a suggestion.
Yeah.
But I think, it's already been put to committee, that we ought to pass at the same time. We ought to do a home rule petition to the state legislature for a 35% residential tax abatement. We're at 30. That would give every homeowner an additional $127 a year. And this would make it far more palatable to people who are bought into the city fully. They are part of this 44% turnover every year. So you are covering whatever cost we're gonna charge them, unless they're buying multiple cars a year, right?
First one's free.
I know what you're
Right?
saying.
You are covering them in that way. And you could say, look, we've thought about just the question you're saying. And for 80 to 90% of the people that would ever show up for this meeting, they should be happy. Because net, I'm a perfect example. I have 5 cars in my family right now. Unfortunately, that I'm paying for every right now. But on a yearly basis, maybe I'll turn over 1. That'll be $50 I'll pay. And then I'll have to pay for, I'll have to pay for the visitor pass, right? Because everybody has visits, so I'll probably have to pay for the 2 visitor passes if that's the number. And if they're $10 a piece or 15, let's say they're 15, it's $30. I'll have to pay the $30. So I'm out 80, but I'm plus 127.
And the other
good.
idea was senior citizens get a discount.
Yeah.
They're not gonna buy a lot of cars, right, so you're not gonna hit the finances, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not going after the residents.
I've got a different idea that I'd like to flow and make,
No, we can
maybe
definitely-
we can bring it up to the next meeting.
Yeah, we can definitely, next week. Council O'Malley, I know you had the last,
I was just gonna say in terms of, yes, holidays, making sure that we are gonna be clear that this doesn't apply on holidays, doesn't apply to just when people are gonna visit. I think that's something that's very crucial.
Yeah, weekends and holidays.
yeah, we can, yeah, that's what we do
It's
now.
business days
Yeah.
that we need the enforcement of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have something else.
All right, so, My homework will be to send out the date, looks like the last week in this, 2 weeks from now, we'll have a public hearing in this building. I'll have Karen send the date out, you have to advertise by tomorrow. Hopefully everybody can make it. Second thing will be, we'll have a meeting next week, we have a couple of items we want to talk about. We'll have another meeting, and then I want to do one meeting for the ones who came in later, Defense Council Mallory. One meeting in July, one meeting in August. Because we have too much work before September. Just one.
When do we recess and we come back?
The full council recesses in
Last week,
July.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it June 30th? Whatever that.
right after Labor Day, Tuesday after Labor Day. So I want to have one meeting in July, one meeting for the ordinance committee, so we can have something to ready, we take all the input we get from this meeting, we meet once in July, we formulate a final kind of meeting, right, find a document, then we can go back to the council, we can have a final public hearing, and then we can start the process of moving forward. There's too many pieces to move in the short amount of time. On Council Kinnon's motion to adjourn, all in favor? All opposed? Thank you.